Welcome back to Ms. Pumpkin Recapped. There is such a horror movie, just this picture can scare you into the bed. Today I'm going to show you a horror film from 2018, The Nun. The story took place in 1952. In a monastery in Romania, two nuns were walking in a corridor full of fog and broken crosses. They came to a door with the words, "God ends here," written on it, and the young nun was nervous. Nervous, he asked the old nun, "Can we exterminate this evil spirit?" The old nun replied, "We have no choice." Then, the old nun opened the door and slowly walked into the dark depths. The young nun could only pray outside the door. The camera slowly pulled into the dark room, and a bloody hand stretched out in the darkness. Covered in blood, she told the young nun to run. The evil spirit wanted to possess humans, and she was dragged into the darkness. The young nun grabbed the key and ran away in a hurry. She grabbed the rope, went to the windowsill, and put the rope glove around her neck. At this time, a figure appeared in the depths of the corridor and slowly approached her, and the cross on the wall began to rotate and turn upside down. The young nun said, after asking the Lord's forgiveness, she jumped down. The upside-down cross also burned instantly, indicating that the place was no longer pure and was occupied by demons, and the face of a ghost nun was also reflected on the glass. After some time, Frenchie, who was in charge of running supplies for the monastery, found the dead body of the hanged nun, and he has had nightmares ever since. He reported the matter to the Vatican Church, where suicide is a heinous crime. The church has sent old priest Burke and trainee nun Irene to investigate the matter. After the two came to Romania, they found Frenchie, who found the body, and asked Frenchie to take them to the monastery. Frenchie was not happy, but after seeing the beautiful Irene, he agreed to go together. After arriving at the monastery, Frenchie took the two. He came to the ice cellar outside the monastery, where the supplies were stored. After he found the corpse of the nun, he placed the corpse here. The priest found the key from the rotting corpse of the nun. Then they buried the nun's body in the tomb. In the process, Irene discovered that there was a bell hanging on the tombstone here. The priest explained, this is during the plague period. In order to avoid burying the living, people installed this bell. When someone is buried wrong, you can pull the bell inside, and if you are lucky, someone will find it. Then they came to the monastery, and no one was seen here. Just as they were looking around, a strange shadow appeared on the chair behind Irene. The shadow told them that he was the dean of the place. After knowing the intentions of the three, he asked them to come back tomorrow. Knowing the answer, the three had to leave for the time being. Planning to spend the night in the concierge outside the convent, Frenchie was so frightened here that he would rather walk back to the village at night than stay here. But when he was halfway there, he was so frightened that he picked up a cross and ran back to the village overnight. On Irene's side, she told the priest that she had a special sensory ability since she was a child. She could see the existence of ghosts, which was why the church sent her, and the priest also talked about it. More than 10 years ago, he helped a boy who was possessed by an evil spirit to exorcise. After the evil spirit was exorcised, the boy died. In the end, the priest blamed himself very much, and this incident also troubled him. In the middle of the night, the radio in the house suddenly turned on automatically, making a strange sound. The priest was awakened, and when he got up to check, a figure flashed by in front of him. The priest chased after him and saw the dead little boy. He hurriedly followed, and came to the cemetery where the nun's body was buried, and saw a snake spit out of the little boy's mouth. The priest was so frightened that he backed away and fell into a grave. He hurriedly picked the bell on the tombstone, and Irene was awakened in her sleep. Looking for the sound of the bell, she came to the cemetery. Suddenly, all the bells in the cemetery rang. Irene relied on her sensing ability to find the location of the priest. After rescuing the priest, they found some books in the coffin, on which they learned the origin of the Valak demon. The next day, Irene and the priest came to the monastery again. This time, the abbot was not seen, and the door of the monastery opened slowly. Since this is a convent, males are not allowed to enter the inner courtyard, so Irene entered alone. After entering the inner courtyard, the priest could only wait outside. After Irene entered the inner courtyard church, she saw a nun who was praying and was about to go over to ask. A nun appeared behind her. At this time, we would be surprised to find that this nun was the nun who committed suicide at the beginning. From the mouth of this nun, Irene knew the truth of the matter. This monastery was a castle built by a duke in the Middle Ages. The duke used evil witchcraft and established a portal. He wanted to summon the demon of hell. Just when the demon was about to when it came to the world, the people of the church arrived, used the blood of Jesus, sealed the portal, and transformed it into a monastery. The nuns prayed day and night to suppress demons. However, during World War II, several shells fell here, and the portal was re-exploded, giving the devil a chance to descend, and then a lot of weird things happened. At the same time, the priest who was waiting outside found the door of the inner courtyard being locked. Because he was worried about Irene, he found the structure diagram of the monastery to see if there were other exits. At this time, the abbot appeared again and told him that Irene was in danger. Then his neck crooked and died suddenly, and the priest found out that the abbot actually it was a skeleton, and Irene wanted to leave after knowing the reason. However, she was told that the door was closed and she could only go out until the sunrise the next day. Irene could only stay here for one night. The nun arranged Irene in a room. This room was the room where the nun committed suicide before. It was midnight. Irene dreamed of scars all over her body and a ghost nun. After she woke up from the dream, she found a nun praying in front of her bed. She got up and walked over to check the situation. Please pay attention here. Behind Irene, the cross on the wall is spinning. It became an inverse cross, which means that the evil spirit is about to appear. When Irene stepped forward, the nun in front of her disappeared again, the door behind her suddenly opened, and the ghost nun appeared in the corridor behind the door. Irene looked back. The ghost nun disappeared. Only a voice was heard, calling Irene incessantly. Irene followed the call of the voice, walked through the gloomy corridor, and came to the door with "God ends here" written on it. The door opened slowly, a gust of wind blew, the candle in Irene's hand went out, the ghost nun appeared. Irene turned around and ran away desperately. At a critical moment, the nun appeared to save Irene and told Irene to go to the church. The priest's side was also attacked by the ghost nun. The ghost nun didn't seem to like a man, so she just drove him out of the monastery. After Irene arrived at the church, she found a corpse on the ground. She lifted the white cloth and saw that the corpse was actually "I just saved my own nun." When Irene was surprised, a group of nuns walked into the church, sat around Irene, and began to pray for exorcism. Irene, who was stunned, also prayed together, which may be herd mentality. Suddenly, everyone was struck by a mysterious force. The statue of the Virgin Mary cracked, and the head of Jesus was gone. After the priest was kicked out of the monastery, he suddenly remembered that Frenchie had told him that there was a small door in the ice cellar that could lead to the interior of the monastery, and he hurried to the ice cellar. A zombie appeared inside. It was the corpse of the nun they had buried. At the critical moment, Frenchie arrived and killed the zombie with an axe. After Frenchie was frightened back to the village that night, she was worried about Aaron. He, unwilling to let this beautiful nun die, he finally decided to take a look. He happened to save the priest. On Irene's side, seeing that the other nuns were seriously injured, she could only continue to pray. At this time, a force opened the clothes on her back, and a pentagram pattern was engraved on her back. At this time, there was a knock on the door. It was the priest and Frenchie, but what was even more strange was that the seriously injured nuns just now disappeared, as if there were no appeared, leaving only the nun's corpse. Irene lifted the white cloth again. The young corpse had grown old and suddenly resurrected. She picked up the cross and attacked the priest. The three of them worked hard to get rid of the evil spirit. Irene told the priest that the nun did not commit suicide, but was forced to do so. This evil spirit must be resurrected on a living person before it can get out of here, so she chose to commit suicide. The evil spirit of hell is still in this monastery, so the three decided to find the blood of Jesus and seal the teleportation array again to prevent the evil spirit from harming the world. Irene asked the priest to baptize her and make her a real nun. The key in his hand found the holy relic, the blood of Jesus. Next, he found the teleportation array and sealed it. Because the monastery was too big, the three decided to split up to find it. Irene found the ghost nun when she found it. The ghost nun chased a 5-pointed star altar. A group of nuns wearing sacks and white clothes appeared. The priest also met a group of faceless black nuns. Frenchie heard Irene's screams, hurried over, saw Irene. The quilt was covered with a sack, and the body was suspended in the air at a 45-degree angle. This scene actually reminds me of Michael Jackson. Frenchie walks over and slowly lifts the sack off Aaron.
You should have kept.
The priest on the other side was also attacked by evil spirits and could not come to help. When Irene wanted to get the blood of Jesus, the ghost nun came out of the water again. Irene struggled and caught the blood of Jesus, but it was discovered by the ghost nun and took the blood of Jesus. The ghost nun lifted Irene into the air with one hand, but found that the blood of Jesus in the container was gone. Irene suddenly opened her eyes, and a mouthful of blood spit on the ghost nun's face. The blood fell into the pool, and the portal opened, dragging the ghost nun into hell. It turned out that they had been looking for the portal for a long time, and it happened to be at the bottom of this pool. When the last 3 people packed up and were about to leave here, a reverse cross appeared on Frenchie's neck, and he was accidentally possessed by a ghost nun. 20 years later, he became a classroom case for exorcist Ed Warren in the movie The Conjuring. The ghostly nun is a spin-off of The Conjuring, mainly explaining the ghost nun in The Conjuring. Come on. What horror movie do you want to watch next? Please tell Ms. Pumpkin in the comment area. Have a good day and bye.